Fromville is a treacherous place. With so many known and unknown threats lurking in the woods, there is hardly anything that can keep our townsfolk safe. Until, well, Boyd found the talismans in the woods. These rocks that he accidentally stumbled across are more than just decorative items. They are essential for the survival of everyone in the town. So join us as we learn everything about these talismans, from where we got them to how they work and what theories fans of this series has about them. Well, let's find out and get into it. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means an awful lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Living a Nightmare, Fromville. Although the show has not yet shown us the lives of past members of this town through valuable information, we have all figured out that the town works in cycles. People get trapped, do their best to survive, and then eventually die at the hands of these creatures. The best thing any townsfolk could do before the sun started to set was hide in the bushes and hope for the best. Several townsfolk were killed because the creatures soon started to figure out their hiding spots. Since the townsfolk did not have many places to run to, the creatures stopped chasing or running after them, and instead the entities would smile and walk towards their victim, getting sadistic joy from scaring them. So overall, life in the mysterious township was far from easy. That was until Boyd Stevens ended up trapped there. Boyd has never been one to back down from a challenge. He used to be a part of the United States Armed Forces, so of course when he got trapped in this horrifying town, instead of rolling over and letting the town be the one in charge, Boyd pushed back against the forces of malice. He went out into the forest looking for food and other clues about the place. He started creating a system to ensure every townsfolk could rotate between hiding places to ensure their safekeeping. He went all out in order to take responsibility for all the trapped souls in this town. One day, he went into the forest where he stumbled across a very good boy. Now, this German Shepherd is someone who we, the audience, have seen several times, especially with Victor and the boy in white. However, for Boyd, this was the very first time. If there is a good boy in the forest, there has to be someone who owns the said dogo, right? That is a solid thought process, and I can't quite blame Boyd for going after the dog when it started running away. However, Boyd ended up getting lost in the forest. With the sun setting down quickly, Boyd decided to take shelter in a cave with his gun drawn. He was ready to go down fighting. The creatures came out of the forest, and Boyd watched as they made their way towards his hiding place. However, instead of stepping in the cave to attack him, the creatures turned and left him alone. This is when Boyd noticed the mysterious talismans hanging on the cave walls. All of these rocks seemed to have runes carved into them, following the Elder Futhark. Figuring that they might be the reason, Boyd took the talismans back into the town with him. How do these talismans work? These rune-carved rocks may look very simple, but they have their own set of rules, like every other mysterious relic we have known about. So, if you have a talisman in your pocket and you go outside thinking that it will protect you against the creatures, you will probably die. Sorry, my guy, talismans do not work this way. They only work in enclosed spaces. Now, this enclosed space does not have to be a room per se. It could even be a building, a residential vehicle, or even just a passageway with two doors which are locked. As long as the space is closed off and the talisman is hanging, you are safe. But if you decide that in the middle of the night you would like to enjoy some fresh midnight breeze and open the window, the protective charms of the talismans would be disintegrated, and now you would be monster chow. So no matter how bright the moonlight seems in Fromville, do not step outside or open a window. The origin of the talismans. The Elder Futhark, like most runic languages, is certainly not very common. I mean, none of the townsfolk know the language. The stones are clearly carved in, so that means each of these 12 talismans was created a very, very long time ago. From this, we can say two things. The cycle of the town capturing people has been going on for a great deal of time, longer than any one of us had been thinking. Within each cycle, the residents of the town did something small or big against the town's malevolent entities, and maybe during one of those earlier cycles, someone created these talismans, figuring out that these runes would work against the creatures. Now, just like us, the From characters have no idea where these talismans are from. But this is not going to stop us from fans from coming up with abundantly many theories about these talismans. Fan theories about the talismans. When you look at the runes carved inside the talisman, you will see that it seems like two people with their hands drawn up. They create some sort of an A figure between them. Now at first glance, this rune according to them is the Ingwaz rune. This rune is connected to the god Freyr of Norse mythology. Freyr, or Frey as a lot of people call him, is a god associated with good harvest, kingship, peace, fertility, prosperity, and stability. So overall, a lot of good things. Since this rune is surrounded by two stick figures with their hands up in the air, it depicts the people worshipping this benevolent god. On the left and right of the rune, we can see two semicircles. One of them is very obviously a rising sun, so using that, we can understand that the other semicircle, which probably refers to the setting sun or maybe the moon. Surrounding these drawings, we can see 8 symbols around them. These symbols seem to be like trees, or at least half of them. So, from all of these details, we can say that maybe the town used to be a place where people would worship this deity. Other fans also pointed out that the F rune that we see carved around represents death in tarot cards. So the rune effectively keeps death out if we use the tarot connection to understand the talismans. Since the tarot cards have already been introduced in this season of the show, it seems like the fans might be onto something. Another fan theorized that what if the talismans were never meant to keep the monsters out? What if they were supposed to keep them in? We know that the talismans work well inside the caves, even though they are not a perfectly enclosed space. The monsters that torment the townsfolk stay inside the caves during the daytime. So could it be that if the townsfolk placed the talismans on the cave openings, they would be able to successfully stop the monsters from stepping outside? I think that would be a pretty cool concept to work off of. Similarly, if the runes are the ones that provide protection, what if the townsfolk copied the runes onto paper or other stones and saw if they could make more talismans? Of course, testing that theory out would be a bit dangerous, but it can be done. What if they placed a copy of the talisman on the front gate of the colony house, after emptying it out, of course, and then locking the inner door and staying inside? If the creatures manage to break in through the front door, they can put the original talisman up, keeping themselves safe. I am, of course, just spitballing a plan here. I'm sure they can come up with much better plans to test this theory out. The creepy scarecrows in the forest. Since the 3rd season trailer dropped, we from fans have been super excited to see what mysteries our favorite characters would be solving this time around. One of the things that caught everyone's eye has to be the creepy statues that Jim and Kenny found in the forest. Since their introduction in episode 1 of the 3rd season, all fans have been theorizing about the use of these statues. One of the most prominent theories is that these statues, just like those rocks, are talismans in their own right. Unlike the rocks, these were planted around the log cabins to ward off evil from that entire area instead of just the house. Now, unless season 3 shows that these statues were keeping some other evil within them, I will be leaning heavily into the theory that the talismans are supposed to stop the creatures from escaping out of the cave systems if they're placed there. Marvelous verdict. John Griffin went all out at his project, creating this extremely twisted and scary world with secrets around every corner. The talismans are very interesting, not just as relics, but in terms of what role they have played in the lives of the townsfolk before the current ones. I'm very hopeful that in the season we will learn a bit more about the talismans and hope they tie into the whole enigma of this nightmarish town. I'm also hoping to see Boyd use the talismans to capture one of the creatures for good by the end of this season. What about you guys? What do you think about the talismans? Let us know your thoughts in the comment box below. Thank you for watching, and as always, we'll catch you on the next Marvelous video.